excellent relations we had throughout the last weeks.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Jean-Claude. And can I pay a particular tribute to you, Jean-Claude, and also, of course, to Michel Barnier and all your team, Michel, in the negotiating team in the Commission. And I do think that this deal represents a very good deal, both for the EU and for the UK. And it's a reasonable, fair.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong.
Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Time is money. Or so money says. Well, money. I know you like to dictate every hour of every day, add to my to-do list and throw the odd spanner in the works. But not anymore. This is my business, and I run it on my watch. I'm in control now, money. And times are changing. Save time with instant business invoicing, now on the Barclays app. Search Barclays Business and make money work for you.
Must have a Barclays business account. T's and C's apply.
Teaching shapes lives. If you're thinking of becoming a teacher, our expert teaching advisors can give you the level of support you need to get one step closer to the classroom. Teaching. Every lesson shapes a life. Search Get Into Teaching. Advisor support subject to eligibility.
Today, your information is more exposed than ever. When you shop, sign in, or browse, you could be vulnerable to cybercriminals. More online threats demand more protection. That's why new Norton 360 provides multiple layers of protection, combining device security, secure VPN, password manager, and cloud backup all in one solution. Get new Norton 360, starting at $24.99 for the first year.
London, switch to Vodafone, the UK's best mobile network, and V Unlimited, because the best phones deserve the best network and our new unlimited data plans. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Max download speeds apply to unlimited data. Best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/unlimited.
It's going to be raining today, and with the worst of winter yet to reach London, you don't want to come home to a broken boiler. We're with you. So that's why with British Gas Home Care, we've got your boiler covered 365 days a year. We have thousands of engineers on hand to help get your boiler up and running again, and all from just 46p a day. Buy selected home care products online by the 28th of October and get 1 month free. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply. Prices vary by postcode.
Connecting decision makers to a network of news and financial information 24 hours a day. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
Special report. A Democratic House leader dies. I'm John Trout. Congressman Elijah Cummings is dead. Cummings had friends in Congress in his own party, of course, but that friendship transcended party lines. Correspondent Dana Bash has reaction from a former Republican colleague.
Mark Meadows, a very staunch Republican, a very close ally of President Trump. Well, he also, according to Cummings' own words, was one of Cummings' best friends. Very, very different politically, very close personally. And Meadows said to me this morning, quote, "I am heartbroken, truly heartbroken." He went on to say, "I have no other words to express the loss."
Elijah Cummings' widow, Maya Rockymore Cummings, the chair of Maryland's Democratic Party, says her husband worked until his last breath and believed the nation's diversity was our promise. Elijah Cummings was 68 years old. I'm John Trout.
Carol Masser, Jason Kelly, and Bloomberg Business Week.
What do you make of Bitcoin? Who's doing it right from a sector perspective?
Better information for a better than great day. Weekday afternoons at 2 on Bloomberg 1130. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
28. For our listeners worldwide, good morning to you all. If you're just joining us, we've just had a news conference with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. That meeting, that address, that news conference has concluded. They did not take any questions. There was no Q&A session. They emphasized the agreement has been made, that they can move forward. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said we can now work with the EU on building a future partnership. There's one big hold-up, one big obstacle, and it's a hearing on Saturday to see if this agreement can actually get through Parliament. Let's carry on this conversation, shall we? Therese Raphael joins us now on the phone from London, Bloomberg's very own and one of our finest. Therese, talk to me about what's been agreed and what the big hold-up is on getting this through Parliament this Saturday.
Right. So in terms of what's been agreed, I think what we have to say first is that all sides made concessions. So the European Commission had said they would never open the withdrawal agreement agreed with Theresa May, that was done, it was dusted, it would have to be accepted whole or not. And guess what? They reopened it. Boris Johnson wanted a customs checks to be done on the island of Ireland. He had to give way on that. The Irish, originally said that they would not accept various concessions that they've actually given. And in the end, the European Commission had said that there would be no bilateral negotiations. It would all happen in Brussels. And it was a meeting between Boris Johnson and the Irish leader, Leo Varadkar, that seems to have kicked off the momentum for a deal. So everyone gave way. Will this deal get through Parliament? That's the big question. And the Democratic Unionist Party, it's a small party. They have 10 MPs in the House of Commons, but they were the reason that Theresa May's deal failed 3 times. They were the principal reason, and really they brought down her government. They're now saying the deal isn't good enough, and that is likely in large part because the consent mechanism that gives them a say over these relationships was watered down from what Boris Johnson proposed to what was actually agreed. So the DUP is holding out, and then the question is, can he get the votes without them, and can he change their mind?
Do you think they can? Where do the votes come from?
Well, the votes he needs from his own party is one part of the mathematics jigsaw here. And there are about 28 conservative MPs who voted 3 times against Theresa May's deal, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the DUP. So one question is, can he separate them? And the thing that has to be said about that is their interests are not entirely aligned. So the conservative hardline Brexiters, they actually want a no-deal Brexit, or the hardest Brexit possible. They could take Boris Johnson's deal. They've been very positive about it up to now. But from the interest of Northern Ireland, a hard Brexit deal or a no-deal Brexit would be the worst possible thing. And certainly the agriculture interests that make up a big part of the DUP's voters would be very unhappy about that. So could the Brexiters claim that they are actually serving the unionist interest by voting for a deal that prevents a no-deal Brexit? For example, if they said, look, it's this deal or no deal at all, we are being even more unionist than the DUP. And this is just speculation. We haven't heard heard from the Spartans. We don't know yet how they will vote on Saturday. The other part of the parliamentary math has to do with Labour. There are more Labour MPs who come from Brexit voting constituencies than there are Labour MPs who come from Remain voting constituencies. And about 16 of them at least have said they would be amenable to voting for a deal, or that they regretted not voting for Theresa May's deal. So can Boris Johnson win over that group of Labour MPs? And there's a final sort of question mark, and that is whether Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn will try to force this to go to what they call a confirmatory referendum, a sort of up-down vote on the deal. And that would force Boris Johnson to ask for an extension. He would lose the momentum. And then I think you see a lot of other potential scenarios kicking in. So it's not done yet.
No.
Because our bottom line there.
So many different permutations that could play out over the next several months, never mind the next several years. Therese, I'd love your insight on what the process looks like. I guess from the EU side, they're done. There's nothing left here. They've come to the table. They've made concessions. They've reached an agreement with the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson has to get to work. He gets back to the UK. What does the next couple of days look like over in London?
Well, the Saturday is the big one. So the UK Parliament will convene on Saturday quite exceptionally, and we would expect Johnson to call a vote on the actual deal. Now, there are members of his party who want to see a second referendum who were already on the airwaves this morning saying this is not enough time to scrutinize the text. This is a momentous, constitutionally important historical decision, and giving us 48 hours is not enough. We need a week. We need this extension. So I think he will get pushback from MPs who say they're being bounced into making a quick vote on it. Then the other question is whether there will be amendments to a vote that will say put this to a referendum. By Saturday evening, he will have to request from the European Union an extension to the October 31st deadline if he cannot get a deal agreed through Parliament. So it really is a make or break day on Saturday.
Therese Raphael, great to get your thoughts. Joining us from London, Bloomberg's very own and one of our finest. Cable lower, weaker pound here against the dollar now, down by 1/3%. Tom, 127.91. The highs of the session, 129.90. The highs of the session after that agreement between the EU and the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The lows of the session now as we face down this vote on Saturday, and it's going to be very finely balanced as to whether it gets through or not.
An extraordinary morning, and Therese Raphael just publishing a detailed essay on the DUP and their path forward for Belfast and Northern Ireland. We have so much more to cover here, folks. Outstanding news flow today. In Brussels, we have had really an extraordinary morning, including a brief conversation of our Maria Tadeo with Mr. Macron of France. And following all this in Brussels has been our Anna Edwards, who more than anyone has gone through the trenches of Brexit like no one. Anna, just your thoughts as we go to Saturday. You will spearhead our coverage on the many permutations here. What will you look for as the messaging is messaged Thursday and Friday into that critical Saturday vote?
Yeah, good afternoon to you from Brussels. So we're going to be looking for every MP that raises their head above the parapet, every lawmaker in London. There are 650 of them. Which way are they going to be swinging on this? I'm just looking. We're trawling Twitter, we're trawling the news wires, we're our colleagues at Bloomberg News. Using their contacts to try and work out exactly how each person is going to vote. And we're also going to watch how Boris Johnson uses his messaging to try and draw different parts of the party together, because he just said with Jean-Claude Juncker, this is a proper Brexit, this is not a Brexit in name only, or words to that effect, which will please the hard Brexiteer side, the ERG side of his party. But for every time he does that, he might put off some on the other side who wanted a closer relationship with Europe in the future. So we'll be watching that messaging.
Let me go longer and farther out. If I look at the Leave Remain vote of, say, Scotland from a number of years ago, and I know you've got these percentages tattooed to your brain, where Leave, the margin was 3.78%, I believe. That's a huge margin. Does all of this back and forth forget us about Scotland just saying, no, we don't want to do that? Is that feasible?
Yeah, there are lots of people asking whether Brexit is going to precipitate the breakup of the United Kingdom. We're not there yet. Many hurdles would have to be crossed for that to happen, but we know that the SNP has been pushing for another referendum for a long time. They want to get the timing of that right, and every time it looks like Scotland is being ignored, it gives another card to Nicola Sturgeon to play, essentially. And what she's been getting very irate about is the consent process that the Northern Irish have been given now, and they are given it in Boris Johnson's latest deal. They have to give consent to the arrangement continuing. And she says, I want that for Scotland. Why doesn't Scotland have consent? You've ignored our view.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is a big question to watch.
Is it 21 Tories thrown out of Boris Johnson's party, I say? Do they want to come back into the party? Do they want to become Liberal Democrats or in name only Liberal Dem? I mean, what are the 21?
Well, we haven't heard from all of them. We have heard from one or two. Oliver Letwin seems to be saying that he's minded to back the deal, and I think perhaps another Stephen Hammond. So that's not the former Chancellor, another Hammond in the Conservative Party. Yeah. We spoke to him on Appington Green just outside the House of Commons, and previously, just after he was thrown out, he was very angry about that, but he wants back in, it would seem, and so we'll be counting those numbers as to whether they will come back into the fold to support Boris Johnson.
What will you listen for the rest of the day in Brussels?
That we're actually listening for how much pressure are the leaders of the other EU 27, are they saying there's no possibility of an extension? Because that changes the judgment that you're making as an MP on Saturday, doesn't it? If you don't think an extension will be forthcoming, you might be more tempted to vote for the deal. But we haven't heard any leaders saying there's no possibility of an extension yet, but we'll be watching for that.
Well, I wrote a memo here at Bloomberg, folks, and I can say it on air. Maria Tadeo, Anna Edwards, just outstanding coverage on this historic moment for the continent of Europe and the United Kingdom today. And to our print team, Edward Evans and all, it's just been truly extraordinary coverage into what will be an original weekend for Britain. Futures up 10. There is a risk on feel. As John Farrell mentioned, sterling comes back. Weaker sterling from almost a 130 figure down to 127.95. But across equities, futures up 10, Dow futures up 74, Dow futures 27.015, and the VIX infractionally 13.59 off the buoyant day we saw yesterday. Spreads widen out. Oil, West Texas 53.05. This is Bloomberg.
Searching for a more memorable short break? Fly from London Heathrow to Cork from $55.99 each way as part of a return trip with Aer Lingus. Step off the plane and into a warm welcome in Cork. Surround yourself with breathtaking coastal views, soak up the culture of Cork City, or head to the colourful town of Kinsale and indulge in the best seafood around. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies, Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offers subject to conditions and availability.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. If you buy items from EU suppliers or sell to EU customers, there'll be new requirements affecting businesses of all sizes. You'll need an EORI trader number and know how to make a customs declaration. You'll also need to make sure you have the right supporting documents for the goods you buy and sell. Find out more about how to prepare. Follow the step-by-step guide at gov.uk/Brexit-traders.
At first, we were worried about using purple bricks, but since we sold with them, I haven't been able to stop going on about them, have I, dear?
No, love.
I've been telling everyone. Family, friends, that confused guy at the supermarket.
Yeah, you haven't really shut up about that.
But seriously, did I tell you about our purple bricks estate agent, Michael?
I met him too. He was nice.
We could talk to him whenever. Anything we asked, he could do it.
That's enough now,
He
dear.
was brilliant, always available to chat on the phone.
Enough,
I
Robert.
could email him any time of the day or night.
Purple bricks. You'll be totally sold.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Viewing services cost extra. See website for more details.
Time is money. Or so money says. Well, money. I know you like to dictate every hour of every day, add to my to-do list and throw the odd spanner in the works. But not anymore. This is my business, and I run it on my watch. I'm in control now, money. And times are changing. Save time with instant business invoicing, now on the Barclays app. Search Barclays Business and make money work for you.
Must have a Barclays business account. T's and C's apply.
Capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Surveillance Economics.
I think the U.S. is going in for a couple of years of very, very strong growth.
The deficit by early in the next decade will start to become a real problem for the markets.
Finance.
The consumer is really strong right now.
We don't realize how good times are now.
Investment.
The biggest problem that people have in investing in stocks is that they get out of the market.
It's not supposed to be easy. Anyone who finds it easy is stupid.
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning, everyone, from our studios in Washington at Bloomberg 99.1 FM and in New York, the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studios. Paul Sweeney and Tom Keene, we begin our coverage here of eventful day. Things start late in Washington, Paul, so we're beginning our IMF meetings at the crack of 9:00:32 as well. But these are important meetings and really a focus this morning on this history-making deal out of Brussels, and we toss forward to the Saturday vote in Parliament. But, Paul, it's none quieter in Washington. It was extraordinary to be in this city last night to just observe the news flow.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And, I think as you and Jonathan have been talking about this morning, the Brexit story just really coming to a head here and will be a very eventful weekend this weekend in the UK, not just for the UK, but for Europe overall.
Yeah, really a focus on that Saturday vote. We're already structuring our coverage of that Saturday vote across all of Bloomberg. In Washington, in New York, coast to coast and worldwide, Bloomberg Surveillance brought to you by Invesco. Every day they bring together ideas with technology, data with inspiration, and investors with solutions. Invesco, greater possibilities together. Invesco.com/together. Invesco Distributors, Inc., with futures up 9, a risk on feel to the market. And Paul, I'm glad we're doing this section. We got all this geopolitics and all that. We need to discuss the physics of IBM. And there's only one person who knows the physics of physics and the physics of IBM. He is the physicist in the building. Why don't you bring in Mr. Rana?
Anurag Rana covers all things technology for Bloomberg Intelligence. He joins us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. So, Anurag, it looks like another miss for IBM. I'm seeing the stock down. What happened?
So it's not unusual for IBM to be not growing, but this time they just gave guidance, few months ago after this big deal, and nobody would have expected them to miss this particular quarter. But, so that's, I think, the disappointment here.
So, the cloud was the story for a lot of these big tech companies, including IBM. So what's kind of holding IBM back here?
It's part of their legacy business, the old outsourcing business where they would be running other people's data center. There was some, blip in that particular element, and that's not unusual. We actually saw that a couple of months ago with DXC Technology had the same issue, and we had called out that we could see the industry, declining at a much faster pace than most people are expecting.
Let me cut to the chase, Anurag. This is really a challenging report for IBM. The relative share performance of IBM versus anything you call a visible competitor. It has been an ugly set of years. The senior management of this company, what is their relationship at this moment with their board?
I think, post the deal, the management team has bought some time. They're going to try to say that we can turn things around over the next 12 to 24 months. And I think, that's kind of where things are at this point. And if they're not able to do so, I think then there might be an issue.
The issue that would be easy to look at, this is MBA 101. I think most of us don't understand it's 350,600 employees. Am I right? That's ginormous?
It is, but if you look at compared to, let's say, other outsourcing companies or consulting companies, Accenture has about 400,000 employees. So it's not unusual. But the problem is a large portion of work that IBM does is still the older technology. And that's where there is pricing pressure. That's where there is no growth. And that's where they're trying very hard with the Red Hat deal.
Okay, that's great. Paul Sweeney, help me here. Did I just hear the fancy physicists say there's no profit in old technology? Was that translated?
Exactly. And this is an analyst who's been covering the sector forever. He knows profit from some of these startup companies that don't have any profits. But so, Anurag, what is the bull case here for IBM? Is it simply that this management can pivot the company to faster growing businesses?
the bull case is they still have old relationships with bulk of the, let's say, Fortune 500 companies, and they need to move some workloads to the cloud, sooner or later. And when they decide to do that, IBM is going to be there holding their hands using the software that's sold with Red Hat to go along with it. And I think that's really the big bet. And they're not going to take Amazon or Microsoft as competitors anymore. They're going to help them host that particular application or that product onto their servers, but using Red Hat technology.
So the Red Hat deal was a big deal for them, arguably a transformative deal for them. Is that enough for them?
If they're able to execute on it, they should see some growth come in the next 12 to 24 months. The question is, does the macro get worse by that time and kind of, play the opposite side of it and negate that positive thing?
Anurag Rana, thank you so much. Great briefing here. We'll have much more on IBM. Really a challenging quarter as well. Now, we put Anurag Rana before David Wilson because Wilson demanded to get a full briefing from Anurag Rana here on IBM. I'm sure, David, it's one of the stocks you got to talk about today. But, what do you do? Go optimism Netflix or gloom IBM as you set the earnings day?
Well, the way I see it, since we just got through discussing IBM, we should note that their shares are down 6% in early trading. Just to kind of go over the highlights, revenue at the technology company fell for a fifth straight quarter and was lower than analyst average estimate in a Bloomberg survey. Now, that $34 billion deal for Red Hat is a plus for them, or at least it was in the latest quarter. Problem is, it didn't offset falling revenue from the parts of the business. So that's how things kind of line up. Netflix, more active than IBM in early trading and up 7.5%. The streaming video service had about 6.8 million subscribers in the third quarter as international growth beat projections. Earnings also came in ahead of what analysts were expecting. Morgan Stanley's up 4%. The bank's third quarter revenue from trading and investment banking topped estimates. Bond trading led the way by climbing 21% rather than dropping 5% as analysts predicted. Profit beat estimates as well. You've got mixed results out of the railroads. CSX was out late yesterday. Their shares are up 2.5%. Profit beat analysts' highest estimate for the third quarter after coming up short in the second quarter. And operating costs dropped to a record low percentage of revenue. Union Pacific, on the other hand, is down 2%. The railroad's earnings trailed the average projection for the first time in 7 quarters. Revenue missed estimates for the third quarter in a row. The number of carloads shipped fell 8.1%. That was the biggest drop since 2016. Definitely hurt their results. Philip Morris International was up 1.5%. The tobacco company's third quarter results showed earnings beat estimates for the 7th straight quarter. Philip Morris benefited from growing demand for its cigarette alternative called IQOS. And bear in mind, they only sell outside the U.S., and it's only now that IQOS is coming to the U.S. Honeywell International is up 1%. The maker of building controls posted third quarter profit that exceeded estimates. Sprint higher by 1.5%. U.S. regulators approved T-Mobile U.S.'s proposed purchase of the mobile phone company. Now the deal has to get through a lawsuit from states that contend the combination will harm consumers.
This is a never-ending deal, David.
Right. And by the way, all this is according to people familiar with the matter. Okay. So that's what we have so far. Beyond that, Tesla's up 1%. The electric car maker's Chinese factory was hooked into a local power grid. That was a 6-month project. They're looking to make at least 1,000 Model 3 sedans a week at that plant by year end. Centene's up 2%. The health insurer agreed to a partnership with drugstore owner Walgreens Boots Alliance and pharmacy benefit manager RX Advance. And finally, Tom, Textron down 6%. The aircraft and helicopter makers' revenue trailed the average estimate for the 5th straight quarter, though earnings surpassed projections.
And next week will be crazy as well. David Wilson, thank you so much on earnings. Paul Sweeney, you are expert on Netflix and all of the media wars. What did the rest of media learn from Netflix yesterday?
The Netflix business is still growing, not as fast, obviously, as it used to be. I think expectations are lower. So they beat some relatively modest expectations in terms of growth. But, the competition really hasn't started yet, Tom. We haven't really had Disney Plus is going to come into the marketplace. Yeah. That's the real big one. That'll be next month. And then we'll see what it means for subscriber growth across the world.
Free cash flow, $1 billion, $1.7 billion, $2 billion, $2.9 billion, $3.5 billion, all negative.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost Uber-like. I mean, I don't mean to make the comparison, but how unicorny is Netflix right now?
You know, it's interesting. If you look at street estimates, they're not looking for this company to be free cash flow positive to 2021, maybe 2022, something like that. So they're going to, and yet they're still burning through cash, as you mentioned, and so they are going to the debt markets to finance their programming. So as long as the debt markets are open, they're in good shape.
Maybe they can do a 15% coupon with an equity kicker. We will see. We'll have much more on this. We wanted to get away from all the geopolitics. And of course, if you're just stepping into your Thursday, an historic deal with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Juncker at the same podium speaking of a Brexit deal. London will decide. Parliament in Westminster will decide here on Saturday. Futures up 9. Dow futures up 71. From Washington and New York, this is Bloomberg.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Tom. Representative Elijah Cummings has died. The longtime Maryland Democrat died this morning at Johns Hopkins Hospital. He never returned to office following a medical procedure last month. Elijah Cummings was 68. The leader of the Scottish National Party says her party will not vote for the new Brexit deal agreed between the UK government and the European Union. Nicola Sturgeon says the deal announced would take Scotland out of the European Union, out of the single market, and out of the customs union against the overwhelming democratic will of the people of Scotland. The U.S. ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland, is set to testify before House lawmakers conducting an impeachment inquiry into President Trump involving the administration's dealings with Ukraine. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Paul, Tom?
Michael Barr, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. The meetings of the International Monetary Fund coming up. My conversation with Managing Director David Lipton. This is Bloomberg.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients, and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
The lifeblood of tech startups isn't just money. It's executive and technical skills. The kind of skills that companies need to build real products. And the skills that venture capitalist Chris Sugden of Edison Partners sees in the graduates that are coming out of New Jersey Institute of Technology.
The amazing thing about NJIT is their graduates, they have multiple offers on average, not just one. They're coming out with real skill sets that are immediately hireable and available to them. I think we see an understanding by the faculty and administration at NJIT that we've got to train and educate the whole student, not just their, one side of their brain. And I do think that's sort of part of the DNA today. There's practical and there's sort of academia, and merging those two together and understanding that if we're going to have our young people go get great jobs and have great successful careers, they've got to have both sides of their brain activated. And I think we see that with NJIT.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Rich. When it comes to keeping your small business valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like computers with Intel Core processors, servers, storage, networking, plus industry-leading monitors and software. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 0800 085 4878. That's 0800 085 4878. Chase the sun with TUI to over 40 long-haul destinations. Explore the beautiful beaches of Jamaica, sip margaritas in Mexico, or see the many wonders of Asia. And until the 26th of October, enjoy £150 off per booking.
When you fly with us, we'll take you there on one of our state-of-the-art Dreamliner planes. TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. T's and C's apply. Minimum spend £1,200 and available on selected holidays. See website for details. Atoll protected.
And to say happy birthday, we're giving you a pair of award-winning Silver Galaxy Buds.
But it's not my birthday till June.
No, but it's ours. 10 years ago, we launched our first Galaxy smartphone. And to celebrate, we're giving customers who purchase any Galaxy S10, Note 10 or A90 5G the chance to claim a pair of amazing wireless Galaxy Buds.
Wow, and I didn't get you anything.
Get the latest Samsung Galaxy smartphone now at your local Carphone Warehouse shop or carphonewarehouse.com. Offer available on purchases made by the 23rd of October 2019 and claimed online within 30 days. T&Cs apply.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can hear every NFL game live as it's happening, or catch it later on demand. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Confidential conversations from Bloomberg Television. Here's Taylor Briggs.
One such company that may have its eyes on a public debut is Snowflake. It sells a cloud-based data warehouse service that helps organizations such as Netflix store and analyze information, and it's valued at under $4 billion. Joining me from New York is the CEO of Snowflake, Frank Slootman. So, Frank, how does the IPO market feel to you right now? Is it healthy because companies are getting shaken up if they're not profitable, or is it too volatile?
No, I think it's actually healthy. I mean, there should be a high bar. It felt to me too euphoric for a period of time. I'd rather have investors be critical, be testy, and really examine companies so that when they come to market, the public can really have the confidence these are real companies with real velocity, real momentum. They're viable. They have been properly vetted, right? There's nothing worse than companies coming to market, falling apart after an IPO. That's not good for anybody.
How has the environment affected Snowflake's plans to go public?
Well, it hasn't affected it at all. We're focused on running our business. We're preparing the company to go public, and we'll find our window. Whenever that comes, we'll pull that trigger and go. An IPO is a milestone, but life continues on. Right after. We don't get too excited about it.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow, and there is breaking economic news crossing the Bloomberg. We go to Vinny Del Giudice with the latest. Vinny, good morning.
Hello, Karen. Data from the Federal Reserve in Washington. Factory output across the U.S. in September down by the most in 5 months, down 0.5%. What happened? Output depressed by the GM General Motors strike, sluggish global demand, and the trade war. The Fed also reporting total industrial output down last month. I'm Vinny Del Giudice. Karen, back to you.
All right, Vinny, thank you. And the Bloomberg Futures Report is brought to you by IBKR and CME Group. The new Micro E-mini futures contracts are available at IBKR at the lowest commissions. Learn more at ibkr.com/CME Mini. U.S. stock index futures are advancing after the announcement of a new Brexit deal sparked a broad rally, although investors are still assessing the Accord's chances of winning crucial support. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day. On Bloomberg, S&P futures up 8.5 points, Dow futures up 65, NASDAQ futures up 28. The DAX in Germany's up 1/3 of a percent. 10-year Treasury down 4/32, yield 1.75%. Yield on the 2-year 1.58%. NYMEX crude oil is down 0.8% or 45 cents at $52.92 a barrel. COMEX gold up 0.1%, up $1.40 to $14.95.50 an ounce. The euro 1.1119 against the dollar. The British pound is at 1.2811 and the yen 108.66. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Tom and Paul.
Karen, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Well, Netflix came out with some results last night, and they beat what were, I guess some fairly low expectations from investors. The stock is trading up this morning. To get the latest, we welcome our good friend, Geetha Ranganathan. She covers Netflix and all things media for Bloomberg Intelligence. She joins us on the phone from Princeton, New Jersey. Geetha, thanks so much for joining us. So I guess, some better than expected results. What were your key takeaways from the Netflix numbers last night?
Sure, Paul. Thank you so much. Yes, you're absolutely right because after the 2Q fiasco, I think investors were extremely nervous. And so with Netflix not missing on their 3Q numbers, I think that was a huge relief for most investors. I think the other big positive surprise, at least for me, was the continued focus on profitability. So they're expanding margins this year by 300 basis points, and they also guided to expanding margin by another 300 basis points in 2020, so up to almost 16%. And that relentless focus on profitability, I think, was definitely a huge positive.
So, Geetha, what is the company saying about the competitive landscape? It's really been pretty much, if you think about the streaming video business over the last several years, it's really been pretty much just Netflix. They've kind of had the whole market to themselves. Now we've got Disney coming in, we've got, Comcast coming in, AT&T coming in. So the competitive landscape is really going to change. What are they saying about their positioning?
So they did definitely acknowledge that there is going to be some kind of competitive, risks. I think they acknowledged that with their 4Q guidance, which kind of came in a little bit lighter than expected. But I think over time, they have always said that these competitive concerns are probably overblown. Just given the breadth and the variety of their content, I think over time they expect to kind of really cement themselves as the dominant streaming force. They did speak about competition that has existed all along. I mean, so they did talk about Hulu and Amazon and how they've kind of fared, how they have amassed 60 million subscribers in the U.S., even with, continued competition. And they said, we've grown and Hulu has grown too. Hulu has 30 million subscribers. So the streaming is not a zero-sum game. Multiple, services can coexist.
Do we have accounting visibility, accounting integrity? Do you know the goodwill, the badwill, how they're capitalizing or expensing out all these investments? Is there visibility, or is it all a bit of a mystery?
I think there's actually more and more visibility. So they've done I think fairly good job of kind of shifting the narrative away a little bit from this hyper scrutiny on just subscribers, away to profitability a little bit. And they have spoken about free cash flow. Obviously, they are burning through a lot of cash, $3.5 billion in 2019. But I think what was a little bit assuring for investors was that they did reiterate that the cash flow burn will be the maximum in 2019. They do expect a moderation starting in 2020, and that is, I think, a positive, especially given all of the well-funded streaming rivals that are entering the marketplace and the content cost escalation that we're seeing.
So, Geetha, you talked about the content cost escalation. What are they spending on programming? Are they saying that we've seen such a huge increase over the years in spending? Where are we right now, and do we expect it to continue to grow?
Yes, so they did actually refer to this in their investor letter. There's $15 billion in cash content costs this year. Over time, we actually see that doubling by 2024. But they are investing in a wide array of content. So they did speak about huge content cost escalation on competitive programming. So Ted Sarandos did refer to even a 30% increase year over year on some of their huge splashy deals. But they're also investing they're taking a fairly disciplined approach across the board. So they are investing in local originals. They've really kind of stepped up on that front. They are investing in unscripted series, which are, again, lower cost. And so I think they're kind of spreading that out. And so, net,